Almost a year ago, I made a video titled B&M is perfect. Essentially, it was just me writing B&M and saying how they were one of the best manufacturers out there. Now, a lot of you negative Nancys had some criticisms in the comments about B&M, and if you actually watched the video and ignored the title, my point still kind of stood. You are paying for a premium product. The B&M price tag comes with a quality coaster that will almost guarantee to satisfy the general public. From what I have seen recently from B&M, it just doesn't seem that way anymore. So in today's video, we will have a discussion and answer the question, is B&M falling off? The first point I would like to discuss is the actual coasters that they have built, because a lot of you do have some complaints about them. I feel like this is kind of crazy, but there are a lot of D1 B&M haters out there in the world. Like, brother, they gave you Fury 325 and you are calling it a fluke. What about Flying Dinosaur, Shambhala, Mako, Goliath? I mean, those are definitely slightly worse, but the catalog doesn't just end at Fury. I do understand a good majority of the complaints though, but I think we all have to understand. B&M makes coasters for the parks. They don't make coasters for the enthusiasts out there. B&Ms are some of the most popular rides at every park, pretty much everywhere you go, and that is with posting high capacity numbers. I think it is absolutely massive what B&M is able to achieve, and what they still do. And you know what else is massive? Never mind. So now I do truly believe B&M is more of a supporting cast coaster manufacturer. The dive, floorless, and invert models truly feel like supporting cast coasters. Some inverts stand out, most hypers stand out, and the top flyers also stand out. But besides that, you can go down their catalog and say they are supporting cast coasters. So I do understand some of the criticism there, but some of you are outgunning it for B&M. Like, what did they do to you? Their coasters aren't bad, but not every single edition is world class, and it doesn't have to be like that. The next point is that B&M is less innovative, and this is a huge one, and it's not very hard to argue against. B&M used to be one of the most adventurous manufacturers back in the day. They did so much stuff with coasters that was never seen before. To be honest, without them, modern coasters would not be where they are today. They started the inverted coaster, which was inspired from the aero suspended coaster, but that is one of the most popular models out there. I do admit it was kind of a fad in the 90s and the early 2000s, but you still see a few being built here or there, and both Vekoma and B&M have a new family line that's somewhat popular. B&M has made the dive coaster, the flying coaster, they started the stand-up, they built the wing coaster, which is pretty much unrivaled in the current market. I would argue B&M is actually one of the most innovative manufacturers. They have built so many coaster models that set the standards for what coasters should be. The thing with B&M is though, they perfect models. They don't try to reach out of their comfort zone very often. And this is what is pulling them back as of right now. Other manufacturers like Intamin, Mach, or Vekoma are just completely outperforming B&M in what they have to offer. But is this a bad thing? I wouldn't say so. B&M has settled into a niche and they are very comfortable with where they are. So why change? The Surf Coaster was a very safe addition, and I think it's a very sensible addition to B&M's catalog. I'm very curious to see what they do with it, as it looks like a model that can't really be pushed around too much, but it rides great, it performs great, and just as all B&Ms do. I don't think enough credit is given to B&M for how safe of a manufacturer they are. At the end of the day, if park visitors come back home, that is the most important thing that a park and a manufacturer can do. And some manufacturers have previously struggled with this, like Intamin. So yes, B&M is not that innovative, but they have all the crowd pleasers, they play it extremely safe, and their business is working almost exactly how they want it to. Now, the other big warning sign pointing to a quote-unquote decline of B&M is the amount of sales they get. This is a huge discussion point, as seemingly less and less B&Ms are built every year, and especially less and less large-scale B&Ms are built every year. Here are some numbers to put everything into perspective. From the years 1995 to 2000, B&M opened on average 4.6 coasters per year. From the years 2020 to 2025, B&M opened or will open on average 3.16 coasters every year. So that is a decrease of about 1.5 coasters less built each year. Now this number doesn't seem huge, but when you put it into percentages, it sounds pretty bad. B&M is building on average 30% less coasters than they did 15 years ago. Don't you love statistics? I'm gonna be honest, I cherry-picked the years to create that number, and that's why it sounds so bad. As a more true approach, I spent my time plotting the number of coasters opening each year into an actual graph so you can actually see what it looks like, so here it is. Now, looking at the graph, it's not bad at all. Ever since 2019, the number of coasters that has opened has been hovering around 3, which is actually quite normal for B&M. You're just missing the huge year where the data spikes, and for us, that will be in 2025. Isn't it so fun how you can manipulate statistics to your liking? It's great. There is a narrative that the graph is missing though. B&M is starting to build family coasters. This is something that they never really did until recently. The first one that opened was in 2014 at a Happy Valley Park. They since then have built around 8 or 9, depending if you count the wing coasters as family coasters or not. So in the first 10 years of B&M, 100% of their coasters were extreme coasters, obviously. In the most recent 10 years of B&M, roughly 75% of their coasters were extreme coasters. In my eyes, game is game. They are still selling coasters, they are still building. I mean, it may no longer be towards the coaster enthusiast thrill seeker crowd, but they are building coasters. And to be honest, they are following a general trend across the industry. I made a video called The End of Extreme Coasters, and although the title was very clickbaity, the message still holds true. Parks are building more and more family coasters for a variety of reasons. If you want more details, go check out that video, it is a good one. So anyways, B&M is building more family coasters, and that is especially apparent with 2025. B&M is actually opening up 5 coasters this year, which is a big number for their company during any other time periods really. However, 3 of them are family coasters, so us coaster enthusiasts aren't that excited. The other more general trend that people like to bring up is B&M is getting more business in China. It feels like nowadays every other B&M is built in China. I'm too lazy to gather more statistics about this because my brain hurts from the past 2 points, but I can guarantee you that while B&M is building a lot in China, I don't think it is taking away from any Western market. There could be a plethora of reasons why B&Ms are not popping up across America like they used to. A huge one could be that a lot of parks already have a solid collection of B&Ms and don't need more. That is just a theory that I haven't looked at, but it sounds semi-accurate. So I'm just saying, business in China is a good thing for B&M, and I don't think it hurts the Western companies in terms of business. Now, the biggest point of this video is about the quality of B&M. We talked about their business model where they value quality over quantity. But what if the one thing that they value most, quality, starts to decline? Well, that is when we are in the stage of B&M may be falling off, let's panic everyone. So before I start talking about this, I just want to preface, I am no way saying that B&M is going to completely implode or crumble. They are an industry staple with a near perfect track record. They are probably the most risk-adverse manufacturer out there. They know what they are doing, and they also don't want to sound like a whiny coaster enthusiast because what we're going to talk about is actually the B&M rattle. And yes, it exists, and yes, it has gotten significantly worse over the past years. I also want to say I personally have not ridden much of these coasters, but I'm pulling from things I have heard throughout the coaster community. So if you don't like what I say, you can shoot the messenger, but just know that I got this from some of you guys. And if you have a different opinion, share it in the comment section. I am glad to hear it. So the B&M rattle. This has been a term coined across the community for what seems like forever. It is a very slight rattle that occurs on most B&Ms. As for my own personal experiences, I have noticed this on rides like Scream at Magic Mountain, Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia, and Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure, among many other B&Ms. But these are slight rattles that almost feel negligible and are really just a complaining point for those who like to complain. However, with that being said, the B&M rattle has become ever so slightly worse in the past couple of years. I don't have much experience to draw from besides Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego, so I will run with that for a bit. Emperor is a little shaky, but it's nothing crazy, at least compared to some of the other B&Ms. However, even on opening day, there was a very noticeable rattle, especially in the back rows. Now, for most other manufacturers, this wouldn't be a huge deal, but with B&M, who works so hard on quality, it is huge news. And now this isn't just Emperor, this is like pretty much all of the new B&Ms. I have heard Iron Menace is really bad for a B&M coaster. I need to go on myself to say for sure, but across the community, I have seen a hefty amount of people say it rides really bad, especially for a B&M. I've heard stories of potholes and jackhammering, which is crazy to hear about a brand new B&M. And you would think B&M's new family coaster lines would also be exempt from this, but no, there are plenty of reports of Penguin Trek having a rattle, which is kind of bizarre. Admittedly, I don't know much about the physics behind coaster roughness, so I can't comment on this too much, but I would at least expect the smaller coasters to be smooth. Oh, and Rapterra, the wing coaster coming to King's Dominion. I know it's not open yet, and I shouldn't comment on it like the B&M Surf Coaster video, but it looks rough. Like, if you zoom in on the launch track footage, you could visibly see the train shake. I really hope once it's full with riders and warms up, this is not the case, or that it looks worse than it actually is, because I am really excited for this coaster. I do know that wing coasters are generally more rattly because of the distance from the seat from the track, but it looks worse than the other B&M wing coasters. So what is happening? Well, I tried to do some research and it is really hard to find objective information. Unless you know a worker from B&M or one of their clients, I don't think you're going to learn much, so the following section is all just speculation and do not hold it as true fact. But it is highly likely that something has changed internally at B&M given their noticeable loss in quality, so here are some theories to explain why. B&M is usually so good at making smooth coasters because they hold themselves to an ultra high standard. I've heard reports that B&M doesn't accept anything that is over 1mm off. To put that into perspective, Premier Rides has a 6.35mm tolerance, so that is a huge difference and also a very expensive difference. When you are making anything more precise, it costs tons of more money. So my leading theory is that B&M wanted to cut costs somewhere in their process and they lowered their precision. I think that since they were so precise before in their track measurements, the trains might not have been built with smoothness in mind, so when they downgrade the quality of the track, the imperfections on the train are brought out. They definitely changed something in their manufacturing process though. Another theory is that B&M changed the type of steel they used to save costs there. With a quick Google search, steel has risen in price over the course of the past 10 years, so it might make a little sense for B&M to find an alternative steel as to what they were using before. Another theory is that B&M has started making lighter trains, which in turn brings out the imperfections in the track more. This would explain why a coaster like Banshee has somewhat of a rattle. Now these are all just theories, it could be a combination of these factors, it could be none of these factors. All we know, or I guess all we can speculate, is that B&M has changed something in their manufacturing process and it isn't exactly working out for them. I'm sure they know about this, I'm sure they are discussing the issues, I don't really see this as a huge problem for them. The whole point in doing this in the first place was to try and make a cheaper product to make B&Ms more accessible to parks, so I do trust what they're doing. Another kind of brief thing to point out is that B&M is under their second generation of management, so all the people who originally worked there are now mostly gone. To be honest, I don't think this is a significant factor, but it might take part in what's happening. So while B&M may be facing some criticism about ride quality and this and that, the reality is they are still doing perfectly fine as a manufacturer. The loss in quality is notable, but I think they're going to iron it out. I think this is going to become less of a discussion point in 5 years. And to be honest, this is only a discussion point because us enthusiasts like to complain about every minor flaw in a ride. In a more positive light, the Surf Coaster has been a very big success for the company, and I expect a few more to be built all across the world. Their success in new markets, particularly in China and with family coasters, demonstrates that they are expanding their reach. I don't think they have fallen too far away from their formula to success. They are the safest manufacturer out there, the most reliable manufacturer out there, and has some of the best capacity coasters in the world. So I think it's safe to say B&M is not falling off. They're actually doing just as good as they normally would. That's all for today's video, guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Join the Discord, link in the description. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Good.